Hi there. The EU referendum's coming up, and while I won't tell you which way to vote, I don't want people voting from ignorance or because they believed extreme claims by either side. Before I go any further, I should clarify my degree was all about Europe and the EU, so I kind of know what I'm talking about here. Admittedly, I went to university in Hull, but according to Blackadder, Hull is one of the great British universities. Not that I actually went to Hull University, I went to the university next door, the University of Humberside. So prestigious that it no longer exists. Well, not at that site anyway. Enduring 3 years of living in Hull wasn't all bad. Beer was cheap, it had to be. It wasn't beer though, that meant going to lectures without hardly any sleep, that was gaming. I used to stay up until the small hours getting my arse handed to me. I wonder now why I kept leaving it. Anyway, my degree though was essentially about the EU. And I've heard some say that the EU is undemocratic. Let's clarify a few things. The EU has 4 institutions. Firstly, there's the European Council, which has 1 representative per member state, either as head of state or head of government. They negotiate treaty changes and define the EU's policy and strategies. This therefore is made up of leaders like our Prime Minister, who we elected. Well, some of us did. And I say we elected, our own voting system means that although 70% of us may want to go to one of 3 pubs, if the percentage of the opposition vote is split between 3 pubs, first past the post permits the other 30% to say we go to a coffee shop, and we'll jolly well like it. This though reminds me of a story called Space Captain Smith by Toby Frost. In it, he explains that the British Empire was built on tea. Everyone drank tea. It was good for you and produced strong moral fibre. Nowadays our empire collapsed and our high streets are filled with coffee shops. Hardly a tea room in sight. Coincidence? I think not. Where was I? Oh yes, the EU. Anyway, the second part of the EU is the European Parliament. We directly elect this every 5 years on the basis of proportional representation. That's the only thing we do elect by proportional representation. Oddly, the European Parliament is where UKIP are the strongest, but have absolutely no means in that body to take us out of the EU. They vote against or abstain on every vote, whether in British interests or not, and still draw salaries and expenses. People seem to forget that if you want to come out of the EU, UKIP needs to be voted in at national level into Westminster and not into the European Parliament. Well, we've got a referendum now anyway, so there's no need to vote for them anyway. Thirdly, there's the Council of Ministers, consisting of a government minister from each member state, which we've elected, people like Jeremy Hunt, and until recently that other vision of sainthood, Ian Duncan Smith. Lastly, there's the European Commission. This is a bit like the UK civil service, like government departments, the DfT, Department of Health and so on. It's responsible for working out the details of laws and the day-to-day running of the EU. It's headed by 28 commissioners, 1 for each area of policy, from each member state, appointed by the Council of Ministers. The Commission is accountable to the Parliament, the EU Parliament, who we elect, and no law gets through unless agreed by both all the ministers, the EU Parliament and the Commission. Hope that explains how it works and why it's very democratic. And aside from our own ministers and leader being, I think, the only ones not elected by proportional representation, it turns out that it's us that are undemocratic. We may be one people who have not gone to war with each other for 70 odd years, but we still have our differences. I recall the tale of the difference between European heaven and European hell. In European heaven, the cooks are French, the police are English, the mechanics are German, the lovers are Italian, and it's all run by the Swiss. In European hell, the cooks are English, the police are German, the mechanics are French, the lovers are Swiss, and it's all run by the Italians. There is one thing though that can unite us. Donald Trump. I have heard adverts say that 10 million Americans can't be wrong. Yes, they can. They voted for Trump.